Hey, thanks for checking this out. I wanted to give you all an update on my MK85 Iron Man suit project that I've been 3D printing for about 2 months. Now this is for my 11-year-old son Roman, who wanted to have this printed in time for Halloween, so it's been several weeks of trial and error and lots of other things to get it to this point. And so let's jump in and take a look at some of the progress. Now, one thing I'm going to note right up front, I apologize in advance for the background noise. The 3D printer is running right now. It's printing one of the feet. There's no way I'm going to shut it off because otherwise I'm probably not going to be done in time for Halloween. I've still got the foot left. I've got the cod piece, which is sort of the center torso section, kind of the Iron Man's underwear, if you will. And then I've got the hands. So I've got not only the repulsors, also all the individual finger pieces, those need to be printed. But I've got most of the other large parts done, as you can sort of see behind me. We'll start with the helmet. This has been kind of a pain. So the helmet, it's coming along pretty awesome, I think, but there have been a couple things that we've run into that have been sort of challenging that you might want to think about. So one of the things is you want to mechanize this so that there's a servo inside, in fact 2 metal servos inside that allow this to open and close mechanically. And one of the issues we ran into is that there's this piece here, and what this does is normally the servos sit inside of this, and then this mounts right into the widow's peak. Problem is it pushed the helmet up just enough. It gave it about a ½ inch less clearance than we expected, and so the helmet didn't actually fit on my son's head with that in there, which sucks. So what I've done, and I'm not quite finished with, is I'll pull these earpieces off. This is kind of clever. These are actually magnetically attached to the side. You can see we use rare earth magnets. There's rare earth magnets along the edges there, and then inside here, and so the entire jaw can just sort of snap in. And the reason for that is because this helmet is pretty snugly fit, and so there's no way with the jaw attached that you can squeeze this over your head unless you print it in a giant size. So we obviously didn't want to do that. So in here you can see the pivot points. So you can see them here, here, and then this bridge part across the front. This is where the servos attach and the pivot points. And you can see by moving the servos here, without that kind of widow's peak piece, it pushed the alignment out just enough to where now the helmet doesn't open farther than that. So the faceplate can only go maybe an inch or two before it runs into problems. So one of the things I have to do in the next day or two is I've got to rescale these arms a little bit smaller, maybe like 90 or 80% their normal length. And then we'll try that again, and it should be able to get the helmet to open and close. That's plan A. Plan B is to try and print an entire new helmet by the time Halloween. I've got like 2 weeks, so I don't know if that's going to happen. So fingers crossed for plan A. That's an update on the helmet. These are the electronics for the helmet over here on my soldering station, and this is pretty cool. It's an Arduino setup, and it's called the Alicia board. And it's this company that makes this pretty amazing setup that has everything you need to run not only the eyes, so there's light up eyes that are semi-transparent that go into the mask, but also the servos for the helmet, and then you can also power another set of lights, so we'll probably run the arc reactor off of this as well. But you just need one single kind of USB battery pack. You can power this whole thing. You can do cool stuff with like sound and everything else too, but we're not going to bother with that just yet, just going to be for the lights and the helmet. So that's in progress as well. The other big pieces we've got here, this is one of the thigh pieces, one of the pieces of thigh armor. We had to print a lot of these in multiple pieces. So I have a couple videos up where I show you how to slice these. We're using a Prusa Mark III's. So the build volume just isn't big enough for some of these large prints. So these we had to slice in half and then print in 2 pieces and then glue them back together. I've got videos on that entire process. It's worked pretty well. And then after enough sanding and painting, it looks pretty good. It's a fairly seamless part. I've printed everything and then I've painted it with primer and then I painted it with gold. I'm going to use gold as the base coat. I got this from Frankly Builds. He's done this great tutorial on how to kind of do this whole thing start to finish. So check that out if you haven't. But by doing this gold base coat, once I layer on the red and the gunmetal color, it's going to give it just a little bit extra luster. Some of that metal flake from the gold is going to shine through. So most of the big pieces have been printed already and painted, at least to get to that point. The other big thing we've done is we've worked a lot on the actual harness setup. I've got that over here. This is too small for me, but this is a shoulder harness. And what this is going to do is go over my son's shoulders. See if I can kind of sort of demonstrate. It's almost like suspenders. So you put this on like so, it attaches around the chest, and then this isn't going to work, but it normally goes around the waist. And then there's these attachments here that are going to run down to the legs, and so the thighs will actually mount to this shoulder strap. I've got hooks on the back and hooks on the front, and so the legs will be suspended by this. The rest of this is a little bit different too, so pull these apart. You can see that the giant back plate and the chest plate are also attached. And they're not quite one piece, they're actually multiple pieces that I've had to sort of weld together. The chest piece, there's this main part here, the shoulder section that you print, and then there's this big chest plate that you also print. And so I've attached these together, and I've used a little bit of wood filler to smooth it out, so you can't really see it. It looks like one piece. It's pretty seamless. I'm pretty happy with how that came out. And then I'll show you how these attach. What I ended up doing on the inside here is I printed these strips of 1 millimeter thick. In Prusa Slicer, I just created boxes, actually rectangles, that are 1 millimeter thick, and then the entire length of the build plate. And you're able to print 4 of those at a time. And then I used hot glue to attach those to the inside of the suit. And this back piece will attach around my son's waist with this strap. I printed off all these little attachments for the straps that you can just hot glue inside the suit too. And the cool thing is that once these are attached, you can add Velcro to them. You can add Velcro to the inside of the other piece, and then it provides pretty substantial support so that you can get this on and then sort of Velcro it, and it's supported from the inside. So this has been a pretty clever setup that seems to be working fairly well. I've done something similar with the bottom here. And you see this is the abs. This was actually 4 separate prints that had to be attached together, and I used super glue. I did a video tutorial on how to do that as well. But you can see that the lower back piece is also attached similarly. It's got that same Velcro setup with these sort of makeshift rafts that I've built and printed, and so those attach there. That again makes it easy to get on and off, but then you can attach it and it's secure. I can hold it by just the back plate, and I can shake this around. It's not going anywhere. I mean, it's really secure. And then these 2 hooks are going to hook up to the front of the chest plate, and that should allow that to stand up. And then this, the back piece here, actually hangs down and attaches like so. It's kind of hard to see, but this hook here will go around this. So it's kind of the major pieces. Now another thing that we haven't done yet, I need to cut this out. This is where the arc reactor is going to go. And so I've 3D printed the arc reactor pieces, we've got kind of this base plate. Here's the ornate piece that goes over the top. And then I've got, let's see, where is it? I've got this little sheet here from Adafruit. It's actually a backlight for an LCD panel. But the cool thing is, and I've seen this in a couple other tutorials, you can actually cut this. So this material can be cut as long as you don't damage the connector here. So I 3D printed an exact size of the arc reactor. So we'll just layer this over here. We'll end up cutting this out, and then you'll have a backlight that sits behind this ornate piece right in the chest. It should look pretty realistic. And then we've got this acrylic casting kit, so I can make a clear piece of plastic that's completely transparent that sits behind this, so that all the light can shine through. I haven't done that yet, obviously, so that's still a task to be worked out. And then that's going to be powered again by this same Adafruit, this Alicia board that we talked about a little bit earlier. So as you can see, we're making pretty good progress. I can actually see the light at the end of the tunnel. We might actually be done in time for Halloween. This seems to be coming together fairly rapidly at this point, barring that we don't run into any other major issues along the way. So definitely hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm going to go ahead and put this together as a series of videos, take you through in detail how to do each of these steps from sanding and painting to prepping and connecting all the pieces together. But for now, I just wanted to give kind of a bigger update so that everybody knows where we're at.